Seen the claims and counterclaims made around the unemployment insurance fund in the last week, after it seems some of its senior officials wanted to pay 5 billion rand to a virtually unknown company in a contract they wanted to sign in December last year. The company Tuja Capital was formed just 10 days before the UIF signed the contract. One of the people implicated in this is Mthunzi Ntwaba. It was only after the claims were made against him that he made claims against senior politicians, which is not yet substantiated. Matthew Parks is the spokesperson, parliamentary liaison officer for the Congress of South African Trade Unions. Cosatu. Matthew, good afternoon to you. There's so much going on around the UIF at the moment. How do you believe we need to resolve this? What needs to happen now?
Yeah. No, good afternoon. I think we were quite alarmed, like the rest of the country, over Christmas this year when it saw this bizarre 5 billion rand Christmas Eve, get-rich scheme, where they wanted to take, money from the UIF to a non-existent company. But we were quite pleased when the Minister of Labour intervened and put a halt to it. It is quite worrying, Stephen, that when the technical officials in the Unemployment Insurance Fund and also the Public Investment Corporation, which manages the UIF money, they themselves said this scheme doesn't make sense, doesn't hold legal water. But we're pleased that the Minister did, stop it, put a forensic audit and so on into it. But we think it's necessary now to release that forensic audit to the public, allow everyone to see it, to see who is implicated, and of course for government to take action against those found wanting, because it's not enough that people have chosen to resign or that people have been removed as the chair of boards, etc. People need to face the full legal consequences for the action, because for us, it looked nothing less than a get-rich scheme. It looked to be reeking with corruption, and there needs to be consequences. We shouldn't be simply allowing people to just choose to walk away when they're found wanting. But I think also with the Unemployment Insurance Fund, there have been two major fundamental problems with it. One is that workers struggle to apply for the money. They struggle to receive it. If you go to any UIF office across the country, you'll see queues upon queues, people waiting from 4 in the morning to get the money and taking months at a time to receive it. And of course, there's also the issue, because the systems are so faulty, they don't speak to each other, they're not modernized, they're opaque, etc. It's very easy for people to steal money, as we saw this attempted corruption scam. We've seen before the Auditor General has flagged abuse of the UIF by various people inside the state and outside the state, real brazen instances of corruption. So we do hope that we're going to see some sort of overhauling of the UIF. It makes no sense in this 21st century why the UIF still has these archaic systems, why people still need to queue for days for very simple applications. The Minister of Labour has met with us at NEDLEC, has promised a plan to overhaul it. We hope it's not just simply a PowerPoint, but an actual detailed plan. And of course, we hope that the South African Revenue Service, which handles much more complicated calculations and does so with the utmost integrity, very efficiently, very quickly and transparently and so on, that they can get involved in designing a new system. We are told that the Government Technical Advisory Centre, which is an entity within Treasury, is going to help to do a problem shooting of the situation, help identify what are the problems, what are the kind of systems we need to put in place. But I think for us, we've been having this discussion since 2020, when we became really deeply involved in the UIF issues during COVID. And really, it's been enough now. We need to see really a modernized institution which gives support to workers when they're not receiving their salaries, when they're trained, when they're on leave, etc.
So, Matthew, last week we spoke to Business Unity South Africa about this, and they seem to agree with you. They also believe there needs to be pretty much a complete technological overhaul, at least. So, it would seem that you and business both agree on this, which I would like to think would be enough to push government in the right direction, Matthew.
We hope so. Look, the UIF, like the Compensation Injury on Duty Fund, the CCMA, etc., these are key labour market institutions. They're meant to give support to workers. They also give relief to employers too who are struggling. So we can't afford for them to be running like a stock film. They need to be modernized. And the UIF does play a huge role helping many workers. During COVID, it gave support to about 6 million workers. It released about 64 billion rand. But we really need to modernize it, and it can't be this complicated. We've been having this discussion since 2020 with the Minister of Labour. They've agreed, the DG has agreed, the Commissioner of the UIF have all agreed. But we just don't seem to be moving with speed. We hope that our recent engagement with the Minister of Labour and the plan that he's intending to take to Cabinet will really finally modernize the UIF, because it's in all of our interests. We can't afford for more corruption scandals. We also can't afford for workers, when they've lost their jobs or when they go on maternity leave or maternity leave, etc., to be queuing for days and days. This is their money. If the UIF is struggling to find the technological capacity, they need to talk to SARS, they can talk to the banks, whoever they need to talk to. but it's not this complicated to have an efficient application and efficient payment system, which is foolproof from corruption.
So Matthew, I mean, that's the sort of high-level stuff. There's this forensic report which we understand has been published. Hasn't been published. This is part of the problem. That's been investigating what actually happened with this scheme. And from the press reports that we've seen, I think Sunday Times, First, other newspapers, the commissioner of the UIF, Tebogo Maraping, is one of the people. There are emails that appear to suggest he was in correspondence and was trying to actually do this deal. So, to sort of sum it up, to use the journalistic phrase, he's implicated. He's still the commissioner of the UIF. To my knowledge, he's refused to answer questions in public about this. Do we need to know what he did?
I think we all need to know, or whether people are guilty or innocent, we need to know. So that's why we've, requested the minister and the president, let's release a statement, let's everybody know what's going on. And those who are accused need to be hauled before the necessary disciplinary process at the workplace, or in the UF, for example. And if they're found, accused of serious activities of corruption, they should be taken to court. But we shouldn't be sitting 10 months down the road when this thing first exploded into the public eye, and we're not exactly sure what's happened. It's positive that a DG, for example, has resigned, but that shouldn't be enough. If a person has been found implicated in serious criminal activities, the NPA must do its work. So we think it's critical now the president, who has a report, should simply release it. Anybody who's been accused, they should be facing the full consequences internally and also in terms of the law. But it is quite alarming that two senior officials in the state are said, in terms of the media reports, to have sought to fast-track this 5 billion rand over Christmas to a non-existent company, even before any service had been rendered. And more alarmingly, they wanted to do so, rather, against the advice of the own officials in the Department of Labour, in the UIF, and the PIC. And that really should raise alarm bells that how can senior management be so empowered to run roughshod over internal processes of the state at huge consequence to the public. 5 billion rand is not small money, it's a huge amount of money, and of course, most painfully, it's workers' money, which is meant to be there to assist workers when they're struggling.
Matthew Parks, thank you very much indeed, the Parliamentary Liaison Officer, spokesperson for the Congress of South African Trade Unions. You know how many stories have actually come out of the UIF in recent times.